welcome back to the channel. Today's video is a video I haven't done for a while. It's a sit down one, as you can tell, seeing as the season is over with. So gotta get creative with content now. But to wrap up the season, I am bringing you my top 10 favourites from this season. It was incredibly hard to pick just 10 photos from this season that are my all-time favourites, but I have managed to do it. It's more like 11 though, because the two at number 1 tie in together and they were hard to choose, so they tie in together. But with these photos, I think there's definitely a link between them all and a factor that's present in all of them that is the reason as to why they've made my top 10 favourites. So if you can guess that before I tell you at the end of the video, then just drop it in the comments and let me know. I will be intrigued to see what you guys think. Link all these images together. But without further ado, let's get into it. I've just moved over to this side a little bit just so I can pop the images here so you can see what I'm talking about. So in at number 10 I have this photo of James McManus, which was shot at the second time we're at Alton Park this season, so back in September, early October time, and this is one of my faves because you can just see the emotion in it. You've got his head in his hands, as I didn't manage to catch the actual crash that led to this, but I managed to snap this, and I think I prefer this because the head in the hands, it gives off the emotion, like the disappointment, and I think the extra elements such as the tire wall and the yellow flag just really add to it. So this comes in at number 10. And this reference, I have my laptop here with the photos on so I can see what I'm looking at. So if I'm looking down, that's why. In at number 9 we have this race shot coming through Lodge of Charlie Atkins, James McManus and Kieran Kent in Junior Supersport in October again. And even though this is just kind of like a standard race shot, it's made my top 10, but it's quite far back in my top 10 because the standout element of it is the fact that Kieran is just alongside James McManus and how I managed to capture that. That being said, I'm very happy with this result because so many of the photos in that race were unusable in the end as a result of losing the light. So I didn't manage to work that too well, but we move. So this is number 9. In at number 8 we have the first of many champagne spraying photos. This is one of 2 that I've included in this. I have so many that I love, but this is number 8, and this is on this because this is from the Sunday podium presentation, again at the second time we're at Alton Park this season, and it's Sam Laffins spraying his champagne from his P3. So first of all, who doesn't love a good champagne spray photo? The particles just add so much atmosphere to it and it just looks really cool. One of my personal favourites to take across a weekend. So the main reason this photo is in my top 10 is because of the story behind it. So this weekend had been horrific, well, not horrific, but bad for Sam, as on Friday he had some technical difficulties. Saturday in qualifying he high-sided, and then Saturday race he slid out of the race and didn't finish it. But with this race, he stayed on it and he managed to get P3 in the end, and as you can tell he was very, very happy about that. I also think that the kid with his arms up in the air just makes the photo. It just, I don't know, it's just a bit quirky and I quite like it. So that is number 8 for the story behind it, as well as the cool champagne shot. Image number 7 of my top 10 is this photo of Harvey Claridge walking back to the paddock, having crashed out at the last corner at Goddard's, the second time at Donington this season. Now, this corner is a tricky corner, it always has been, and I do social media for this team, so when he crashed I was like at the corner. Sadly I couldn't get the crash because of the advertising boards, but I managed to get him walking back to the pits, and I quite like this, and this is up here because he just looks so out of place, because you have to walk under a foot tunnel. If anyone's ever been to Donington, you have to walk from the infield, you have to walk under a foot tunnel to get back into the paddock, so that was the quickest way for him to do that as opposed to waiting for a bike. But I just quite like the fact that he's in his full leathers, they're scuffed, and he's walking back to the pits, yet you've got all the spectators around him, and the person in the foreground who's blurred just adds to that and like creates the depth of field. And this is image number 7 of my top 10. Image number 6 is this photo of Franco Bourne and Sam Laffins congratulating each other after the final race of the season for them on Sunday at Brands Hatch. And I was definitely not in the right spot to take this photo, as I'd started up at Druids, which is where they are in this, and I'd walked round to Paddock Hill Bend to go and shoot podium, so I was not in the right spot. This was on max zoom, but I'm very happy with the result, and I just think it's quite nice. It just sums up like the end of the season, sportsmanship, and Franco Bourne won the race, and Sam had been catching him in P2 for a while, but Sam eventually finished P2. So yeah, just a nice photo, and I think it ends the season quite nicely. Image number 5 is one I took at the 3rd round of the season, and I just quite like it. So as I've said, I do social media for this team, and during warm-ups there's not much point going out and like shooting around the track, so I kind of hang around at the awning. And this photo is one I snapped at Donington earlier in the year, and it's of the mechanics Jason and Michael just sat outside the awning. I think it's quite entertaining and it makes me smile. But the GP2 warm-up session prior to when this photo was taken was initially red flagged, and there was no one at the awning because it's only an 8-minute session, so most people go and watch. So no one was there when the riders came back in, as people just thought they were pulling into pit lane. So when the session got back underway, Jason and Michael stayed at the awning in order, just like in case anything happened again and the riders came back. And I just thought this was a very quirky, entertaining photo, and I just snapped it. I just think it's quite nice, as opposed because they just sat at the front on chairs, as opposed to being sat inside at a table that they have in the awning. And this is number 5, simply because it makes me smile. Image number 4 of my top 10 is my second champagne spray photo of this set, and it's of Harvey at Autumn Park in round 2 when he got his P2. And this isn't necessarily the champagne photo. I was torn between this one and another one from Harvey, because I do have the photo from Alton when he got his maiden win of the season in this class, and it's a great shot. But this was the first champagne spray photo I'd taken of the season, and I just loved it from the moment I took it, and that is simply why it's in here. And it's not a higher rank than 4th, because it's just a nice photo. I like it, and it was, as I said, the first champagne spray photo I took of the season, and I just loved it from the moment I took it. And sometimes you have that with photos. Sometimes you just take photos and you just love them, and you can't like explain anything else other than that. On to the top 3 now, and in 3rd we have this photo, which is another photo that just makes me smile. It's Anju doing a wheelie with Craners in the background at Donington during the British round of the World Superbikes. And even though this isn't a BSB photo, it's a photo that I just adore, because this whole setup with Craners in the background is a shot I've been dying to get, like, call it a bucket list shot if you will. And I've been dying to find where you shoot this shot, and for ages I thought you couldn't get it unless you were media side, but I managed to find it completely by chance, as someone had asked me to shoot McLean's, so I went around there and I found this. And what makes it even better is the fact that on shoot is wheeling out of it, and that just adds to it. But again, this is like the Harvey Spring, the champagne photo. This is just one that I just love. Quality photo, he's crystal, even though it's shot through a fence, and it just makes me smile. And it was the first shot I nailed in this spot, even though I have a great shot of Harvey here from Donington Park, around 10, I think. But this was the first one I got in this spot, and I love it. In second place is another image that just makes me smile and laugh whenever I look at it. So again, it's another Go Racing photo, as I do their socials and shoot a lot of stuff for them. And it's of Carl Stevens and Jason on the grid. So I have a play around with grid shots from like public side, and Jason had spotted, we had this whole thing beforehand, and like they'd spotted me and someone else, and there was a bit of confusion, but then when everyone cleared the grid, Jason pointed me out to Carl, who was a standing rider for that weekend, and you just got Carl blowing a kiss to the camera and Jason smiling with his thumbs up, and it just makes me smile, because even though it's a very standard looking photo, it's the emotion and the poses in that photo that just make it, and again, the story behind it. So that comes in at number 2 for that reason. Now, in first place, this photo, and this is the one that's tied with another photo because they just link so well together. In first place is, from the moment I took it, I knew this was my favourite from the entire season. And it's this photo of Sam Laffins going across the line after he'd just gone across the line at Cadwell and got his first ever P2 in the junior superstock class. And the clear visor and the arms like in fists down by his side, you can just hear the photo, and it makes me smile whenever I look at it, because from like the clear visor and the facial expression you can see and how the arms are positioned, as I said, you can hear it, and that just indicates how much this like race result meant to him and to the team. And this photo, even though we had, I think it was like 4 rounds left after Cadwell, this did it. This was always going to be my top photo of the season, like hands down, and I think it would take a lot to beat this one just because of the emotion that you can see in it. And the second image that's tied to this one is this one, and at Cadwell, because of the weird layout, they roll up to Parc Fermé on the grid instead, and there's no fence, so there's no catch fence, so it's nice and you can get nice photos from public side. And I got this photo of his dad hugging him and the team with him, and you can just see the emotion, and I love these 2 photos for this reason, just because you can see how much it means to them, and it's just the emotion, simply put. So yeah, that brings my top 10 to a close. With that, that is a wrap on the 2022 season, finishing off with my top 10. I hope you enjoy seeing those, as I enjoyed going back through and picking out some of my top favourites, even though it was extremely difficult, as I've taken so many photos this season and can safely say I will be posting on Instagram every single day over the off season, as I have that much content stored up, and I have even more photos to the point that the length of the winter break I can't actually post all my content from this season within that time. But I hope you enjoyed it. I definitely liked going through this, as I said. And before I mention it, have you managed to guess the link between all the photos? I frequently mentioned it, but the link between all of them, which to me just makes a photo stand out more for me personally and how I shoot and what I look for, is the quirky like human connections, so the emotion. So my top photo from the season, that photo of Sam crossing the line and with his team and family, that edges it because of the emotion behind it, and you can see that, and like so many others of them were, or they've got an emotional link behind them from like me and the story behind them. But yeah, that's the link between all of them. If you liked the video, give it a like, drop a comment if there's any video suggestions you want to see over winter. Don't forget to subscribe if you don't want to miss any more content. I've got some more content coming, but it's a bit less motorsport orientated, as is the nature of the winter break. But there is definitely more content coming, and it will be photography related, so keep your eyes out for that. So yeah, I'll see you next time.